The family is heartbroken at the sudden passing of our beloved Georgiana Solomon, also known as Ma Innocent, Ma Inno, Erlene, or Miss Eileen of Boulevard Street, who resided at Fosse Jacques Souffrin. She transitioned from this life on Monday, 19 February 2024 at 8:35 p.m. at the OKEU Hospital. She was a retired housewife and shopkeeper at Boomshell Disco. She was also a long-standing member of the Souffrin Mothers Group. She was predeceased by her son, Felix Boomshell Solomon. Left to mourn are her husband of 53 years, Innocent Solomon, a farmer and former bus driver on the Castries to Souffrin route. Daughters, Catherine Solomon of Forcaco, Souffrin. Lydia Zita Solomon Ortiz of Delaware, USA. Francilia Natalie Solomon, Project Coordinator, Caribbean Digital Transformation Project. Chantal Solomon, Manager at Sugar Beach, a Viceroy Resort. Sons: John Power Solomon, bus driver of M790, Route 3D, Castries to Souffrin. Franklin Damius Solomon, coordinator of the Souffrin Fitness Center and Boomshell Sounds International. Granddaughters: Felicia, Curleen, Celine, and Safia Solomon. Kathleen Solomon. Kelsey Pascal. Jonelle and Jonella Solomon. Verna Alphonse. Roshan Phillip. Grandsons: Maguire Prince DJ EQ Solomon. Alex McDaniel Solomon of London. Ethan, Nathan, and Ezra Solomon Ortiz of Delaware. Azaria Solomon in North Carolina. Chanel Manchester Solomon. Great grands: Steffi, Zayden, Maria, Jade, Alicia, Fadian, and Christian Felix Solomon Alexander. Sisters: Ruthie Prosper Forbenier Souffrin. Sylvie Mason of New York. Nieces: Dorcas Louisi, Shermel Joseph, Janelle St. Jean, Sephra Prosper, all of Souffrin. Nephews: Richie Victorin, Raphael I. Roots, Phileas J. Phillip. Cousins: Stephen Bailey, Aloysius Bailey, Whitney Bailey, Alexander Bailey, George, Annie, and Amby Harris in St. Lucia, Barbados. Lucia, Catherine, Lawrence, Augustine, and Philip Harris of St. John and the U.S. Marcia Osborne in London. Peter Paul Innocent in the U.S. Godson: Jimmy Williams and family. In-laws: Mary Solomon of London. Chanel Solomon of the St. Lucia Fire Service. Vanessa Alphonse, Juliana Simon, Sylvia George, Donalyn Emmanuel, Marceline and family of Canaries. Ernie Ortiz of Delaware. Rudolph Philip of Yefor. Other in-laws: Iota Paul of Lastic Hill, Castries. Mary Haynes of Barbados. Anthony Maibut Solomon of Souffrin. Alexander Solomon of Los Angeles, USA. Extended family: Irama Stanley and Annie Nicholas of Souffrin. Marciana Henry and Martha Williams in London. Morgan Monry, Primus the Rock Felipe. Claude Auguste, Cassius Clay, Shabatis. Jacques Program Prosper. Zephyrin Prosper. Pius Japon. Francis Nixon Victor. Clavius Henry. Freedom Gaston. Ignatius Javid George. Terry Badcat William. Alexander Burton. Baba, Combe, Jaja and Eurus, all of Jacques, Jane Charlery of Choiseul. Friends, Miss Sylvia Jacques, Miss Linda and Jean-Jacques, and Christopher Leo of Soufrière. Mr. Cyril Marsner, Mrs. Mary George, Mrs. Cyrilia George, James Marsner, Mrs. Felicia Symphorian, all of Jacques, Mrs. Angela Joseph and Mrs. Catherine Julian, Mrs. Barbara George, Mrs. Eusella Alcindor, and Mrs. Hermina St. Hill, all of Soufrière, Mrs. Margaret Clavey and family in St. Croix, Mrs. Catherine Alfred and family, all of La Clary, Mrs. Bernadette Simeon and family of Babonneau, Miss Atul and family of Delcer, Merlinda in Choiseul, Senator Herod Stanislas, Honorable Alfred Prosper, Minister of Agriculture, Julie and Hubert Victorny of Martinique, Miss Serena, Mr. Eric Dit Sully. Also left to mourn are the dialysis nurses and patients at Tapia Hospital, especially Nurse Wendy, Doctors Merle Clark, Romael Daniel, and Alwyn Benjamin of Tapia Hospital, Dr. Kent Glass and Stafford Rodney Bay, Father Albert Smith and Father Ignatius Setut, members of the Soufrière Mothers Group, the Jean-Philippe family of Jacques and Millard, the Harris family of St. Lucia, Barbados, Antigua, the USVI and Atlanta, the Bailey family of Castries, Barbados, and the U.S., the Marthray, Alexander, Abraham, and Francis and Wilson families of Soufrière, the Solomon and Paul families of Soufrière, Deriso, Tiroche, Miku, and Barbados, the George and Codra families in St. Croix, the Joseph, Clement, Modeste, and Pascal families of Jacques, the Nicholas family of Choiseul, the Donovan family of Millard, her neighbors and the entire Jacques community, neighbors at Boulevard Street, and the entire Soufrière community, other relatives, friends, family, and well-wishers, too numerous to mention. A celebration of her life will be held at Our Lady of the Assumption Church, Soufrière, on Monday, 18 March 2024 at 2 p.m. Her body will be interred at the Michael O'Brien Private Cemetery at Latony, VA4. Her body now lies at Lazarus Funeral Home, New Dock Road, VA4. May the Lord's perpetual light shine upon her.